Hey there, Hell Yes Lifers. It's Norman Bell, host of the Hell Yes Life podcast. Welcome to another episode. I'm so glad you could join me. This is a solo episode, the first solo episode of season 3 of the podcast, which I've just started here in September. And I wanted to touch base with you a little bit. I'm going to try to keep this short and not too much rambling here. So, the topic of this solo episode is, what is a Hell Yes entrepreneur? What is a Hell Yes entrepreneur? Well, so for season 3 and going forward, we'll see how this goes. But overall, I have decided to focus, as far as my target audience goes, on Hell Yes entrepreneurs. Now, a Hell Yes entrepreneur is someone probably like you. I mean, you may be working in a 9-to-5 job, and you may not have any interest in doing your own thing, but a lot of you out there may well be like me. I'm still working in a 9-to-5 job. I'm thankful for the flexibility it gives me. I have a remote job, but I'm looking to move towards my Hell Yes business, my passion-based, for-purpose business. That's what we're talking about here. Is a Hell Yes entrepreneur is a passion-based entrepreneur with a for-purpose business. You're not just here to make money. We want to make a good living. We want to live abundantly in our lives, but we're not just creating the next cool app to try to make a bundle of money and then sell our company to venture capitalists, that kind of thing. It's there's more of a grounded purpose behind what we're doing. So I think a lot of you out there are already this kind of an entrepreneur. You could be a coach, a consultant, an author, a speaker. You could be an artist or an adventurer. And just to give you like an example, I realized that most, if not all, of the guests that I've already had on the Hell Yes Life podcast are Hell Yes entrepreneurs. People like Cathy O'Dowd, who was the first woman to climb Mount Everest from the north and south sides. Now, she took that experience that she had and that obviously that passion for mountain climbing, and she's turned that into an amazing career as a corporate speaker, where she, obviously weaves her storytelling about her amazing adventures on Everest into life lessons that can be passed on about leadership and so forth in a corporate setting. So that's an example of a Hell Yes entrepreneur. Another one, Ross Simons. Now, Ross is from South Africa, and he is an origami artist, and he was working in his 9-to-5 job as a developer or something like that, working on projects he wasn't passionate about, but in his spare time he was making these origami birds and so forth, and he realized he needed to do something with that. Well, long story short, he turned that into an Instagram following of over 100,000 people. And he kind of set a goal for himself to make one origami item per day for a year. And people started following this and becoming really, just following his progress with this. And he ended up turning it into a business. So he ended up doing origami art for major companies, and I'd have to actually check in and see what he's up to now, if he's still doing that or if it's evolved to something else. But there's an example of an artist turning their work into a Hell Yes business. Who else? Carlin Montes de Oca is a guest that I had on the show, an author of a book called Dog as My Doctor, Cat as My Nurse. So she, I believe she worked as an acupuncturist before, but she had this real love of animals and the healing properties of animals. And she was a real proponent of this. And so she wrote this book, and now she's out there touring around as an expert in this area. And so there's another example. Chris Ballew, who was the front man of the 90s rock group, The Presidents of the United States of America. He's here in Seattle where I am. I ended up having a great interview with him, really fun interview. I'm going to include the links to all of these episodes in the show notes. So I don't have them handy right now as far as what episode numbers they are and so forth, but I'll include those in the show notes if you want to go back and listen to some of these interviews that I had with people. But Chris Ballew, um, I thought what was interesting about Chris was you would think that being a rock star was his hell yes. And it was to a certain extent. But after his period with the president sort of, kind of peaked and then waned, he started to, find his next hell yes. And what it turned out to be an even stronger hell yes for him was to be a children's singer. So he kind of stumbled into this, but he became Caspar Babypants. That was his AKA whatever, his alternate name, Caspar Babypants. So he's actually put out over the past, I think it's probably been 7 or 8 years now, a series of brilliant children's albums. And when my daughter was very young, 0 to 3 or so, Caspar was our main soundtrack. That's his target audience there, the 0 to 3 market there. So these are just a few examples. Oh, and then the last one would be Chase Boehringer, who I interviewed last week on the podcast. And Chase took his love of travel, where he went to the running of the bulls and really like woke up out of a depression and came alive as the result of doing that. He created a bucket list and started, crossing off bucket list items for himself. And that turned into a travel blog. And then that turned into, hey, maybe I'm going to invite some of my friends to go with me on these adventures. And then that turned into a full-fledged business where he now takes people all over the world to amazing adventures. He went on a Nepal trek to Everest Base Camp earlier this year. He takes people to amazing festivals, the Holi Festival in India, the one with all the colors, and so on. So hell yes business, right? An amazing passion-based for-purpose business to help people light up and come alive, right? So that's what we're talking about here. You can tell that I'm getting excited talking about these people's passion-based businesses. So what else do I want to talk about here? Let's see. A few characteristics of a hell yes entrepreneur. I think you already get the idea here. But one characteristic, I was trying to think about this for myself with my hell yes business that I'm building here, that you can't wait to get up in the morning. Like, or let's just say when you do wake up, or what I've noticed when I'm waking up these days and I'm starting to get back into working on my the podcast and my business and so forth, is like, it's like, oh goody, I get to wake up and work on my business, So you feel excited about it, so that would be one characteristic. You're in flow for much of the day. So ideally your hell yes business, your passion-based business puts you in a place where the activities that you're doing are a great fit for you and you're in that flow state. I love thinking and talking about the flow state. It's that place of being fully engaged in what you're doing. And, I feel blessed whenever I can do that. So like for me, the thing that puts me in the flow state the most is things like this, where I'm kind of having to do spontaneous speaking of some sort, whether it's for the podcast, or I love live public speaking or teaching, doing workshops, that kind of thing. But I can also do it in when I'm working on the computer doing writing, when I have like focused writing and it's something that I'm passionate about. So what is that for you? What are those activities for you that you feel really passionate about that put you in that flow state? What else? So passion-based, purpose-driven, we've got that. Now making an abundant living. Like this is not, we and I talked about this yesterday with one of my guests that you'll be hearing from in the coming weeks here, Matt Brawning. This idea that well, he called it the contribution drive, right? We want to give of ourselves to other people. We want to help other people. But does that mean that we have to starve and live in scarcity? No. I mean, we need to live. We need. Well, let me assert this: we need to live an abundant life to be able to have the expansion in our own lives, to be able to have a greater impact on other people. So making an abundant living. We're not here to starve, right? Um, and I also put down like another characteristic of a hell yes entrepreneur. I mean, I don't know if where you are in your journey. I'm still on my journey to get there, but freedom is a big value for me. It's and freedom to me, and I don't mean freedom like the United States freedom, but like freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want. You know, like I want to be a location independent entrepreneur. I want to be working from Bali or Costa Rica. You know, I want to make my own schedule. I want to have plenty of relaxation and renewal time. I want to have lots of adventures, you know, like freedom, right? So that's another element for me. And I think that, you know, if that's not for you, I think you should, I recommend it. freedom to, you know, live a hell yes life. So, so like I said, I consider myself a hell yes entrepreneur. I imagine a lot of you out there are hell yes entrepreneurs. And one reason that I wanted to focus on hell yes entrepreneurs for the podcast was I feel your pain. I know I know the journey you're on and what you're going through, because I'm going through it right now myself. And so some of the challenges you may be facing as a hell yes entrepreneur. One, you may well be a solopreneur, right? You may have your own business. It may be, you may have a message or a service that you want to share with people, and you're doing it on your own. So that's one thing. It can be lonely being a solopreneur. I can tell you that. Like, it's very important to connect with other people. Luckily, you know, with technology and social media and so forth, if used in the right way, social media can be a complete drain on your time and energy, but used in the right way, it can be a great way to connect with other solopreneurs, hell yes entrepreneurs that are on the same journey, so you don't have to go it alone. You may be, like me, interested in building a platform, like I'm in the process of doing here with the Hell Yes Life podcast, with my website. You may be thinking about writing a book, doing public speaking, essentially getting into this realm of the, as they call it, the expert industry, right? So you may be building your credibility as an expert in an area you're passionate about by writing a blog. Like I said, doing a podcast, appearing on you know, TV or radio shows, or being a guest on a podcast, etc. There's lots of people out there doing this, lots of coaches and authors, and, you know, a lot of the people that I have already previously mentioned as examples. You may be overwhelmed, like I have been and still am, honestly, to a certain extent, by all of the moving parts and pieces of creating your own business. It's overwhelming. It's absolutely overwhelming. And while the online world in a lot of ways has improved our lives, it's also made things a lot more complicated. There's so many moving pieces and so many different potential areas of focus: social media, building your website, creating a platform, writing a book, all these different things, that it's hard to know what to focus on sometimes. I know that's something that I'm really working on right now. I'm actually reading this book, The One Thing. Some of you may well be familiar with it. It's not a brand new book, but I'd heard about The One Thing for a while, but I'm finally getting around to reading it. And I'm looking forward to kind of implementing some of those things. It's like getting really crystal clear about, like, what is the one thing? Oh, here's the actual question from The One Thing. It's called the focusing question. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? So anyway, we'll maybe unpack the one thing and then talk about that and other productivity things in a coming episode. But if you want, just ponder that question for now, because we can get so inundated with information, and everybody's got their own idea. Everyone's kind of telling you, oh, hey, here's the 5 steps to getting there. I also have my own 5-step systems as well, but it can be hard to know what to focus on, right? So there's another issue that we run into as Hell Yes entrepreneurs. Having a hard time deciding what to focus on. What's your target audience? Things like this. These are all the things that I've been grappling with and trying to get clearer on. And another reason that I am, getting up to this point, I think Hell Yes Life has been for people who want to live a Hell Yes life. And actually, I should note that even if you're not starting a Hell Yes business, or even if you don't have any interest in starting a Hell Yes business, a passion-based business, a for-purpose business, you will still find a lot of value out of listening to Hell Yes Life, because I think that the stories that our guests share are super inspiring, and wherever you're at in life, I think it would still be beneficial to listen to the show. Obviously, I'm going to say that, right? I don't want to lose you as a listener, but I think it's true. Target audience. What services do you offer? If you're just starting a business, these are all things that you're thinking about, and if you're like me, confused about. It can be very confusing. And if you're anything like me, you're a multi-passionate individual, or as there's one website out there called Putty Like, they call it multi-potentialite. I can't remember the woman's name is Emily something. She has a TED Talk about being a multi-potentialite. You should check it out. Just type in, I'm not going to spell out multi-potentialite here for you, but you get the idea. You may have many different interests, and you're really, like me, I've been really reticent to choose one thing and be I'm the blank guy. So if that's something that is up for you, then that's another potential issue as a Hell Yes entrepreneur. What else? Let's see. Maybe struggling to get you may be like me. You're trying to get your business off the ground on the side while you work a day job, and you're trying to, where do I even fit this in? I've got work responsibilities. I've got family responsibilities. I've got bills to pay. I've got to take the car in this week, everything, whatever. And you're trying to start this passion-based business. Yeah, great, Norman. It's great to have your cringeworthy vision about what you want to do, but how am I ever going to work on that, right? So I get it. I totally get it. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's something that is worth continuing to work on, because once you identify what that passion is for yourself, and then I don't know, to me, it's one of the things, like I say, that gets me up in the morning and gets me excited. So just keep working on it. What else? Yeah. So, I mean, these are just some of the issues that we run into as Hell Yes entrepreneurs, and I know it well. And that's why I want to, I think that the show will still have interviews with people that very likely fit that description of the Hell Yes entrepreneur. But regardless of whether this is an interest of yours, I think that their stories and lessons will be of value to you and inspirational to you. So that's the plan going forward. Is I'll be likely doing, I'm not going to say that this is set in stone, but what I'm likely doing is 2 interview episodes per month and 2 solo episodes. So we'll get to a nice mix of hearing from different amazing people and their journeys, and me kind of sharing some of the lessons that I've learned, or kind of based on what I'm up to, what I'm reading, what I'm experiencing, and so forth. So one other thing I want to put out there is, I'm not really ready to talk in depth about this, but I'm just going to mention that I've had some conversations in the past week or two with people who have reminded me not to throw out my previous background. You know, I'm interested in personal development. This is what, you know, I'm doing coach training right now. I have coaching clients that I'm working with. And yet I have this background in communication. And actually my day job is in communication. And I think I've been kind of turning my back on that, wanting to move forward with this new thing, but I've been encouraged to consider incorporating that into the work that I do. And so, you know, like I said, I'm going to be focusing on helping the Hell Yes entrepreneur in a variety of areas, but I'm on the cusp of, you know, taking the, look, I'm just going for it. This is going to be the next thing that I work on, is helping Hell Yes entrepreneurs with their messaging, with their story, with their why, right? So this is another issue that we run into as aspiring Hell Yes entrepreneurs and people who are out there with their business, is we don't know why we're doing what we're doing, or we haven't really clarified it yet. We haven't really done the foundational work to dig in there. So this is probably anybody listening to this is aware of Simon Sinek and his famous TED Talk about starting with why, and how businesses like Apple, I think he talks about the Wright brothers as well. They knew their why. They knew why they were doing what they were doing, and that instead of focusing on the what they were doing. And so I'm doing that work myself. I'm spending this, I'm calling this quarter between September and November, this kind of Q3 of the year for me, doing that foundational work, really getting clear on my purpose. And I want to help you do that too. So I'm looking at doing a mastermind group around that. It would probably be a 90-day mastermind group specific to, you know, it could be for people who have yet to launch their Hell Yes business, but likely it's for people who already have their Hell Yes business going, but they want to get clearer and crisper about their messaging, about their, you know, kind of tapping into their origin story. Like, what's that story that is going to connect you with your audience, and really kind of, it's that through line that helps people connect to your audience about, like, oh, that's why he or she is doing what they're doing. That makes total sense, right? Mine is, you know, I was in high school. I ran for this student council position with the slogan, Hell Yes, vote for Norm. Had a Hell Yes year after that. I won the election. I felt like I was in my, you know, I was in fully expressed that year. I'd put myself out there and felt fully expressed as a result. And then after that, I closed back up again, and I experienced a lot of depression and so on. But 25 years later, I was looking back, and those two words were still ringing in my ears. Hell Yes. And so that's why I started the Hell Yes Life podcast. People seem to like that through line. I mean, there's more to the story than that, but that idea that it connects to something in my past. So, like, what is that for you? What is the story, your origin story for your business? So anyway, these are the kinds of things that I like helping people with, and that I'm looking at focusing on in this 90-day mastermind group. I'll be kind of talking more about this in coming episodes, and we'll have more, you know, kind of solid information about this. But I'm going to be doing a beta test version of this 90-day mastermind group. And if this is something that is of interest to you, then please email me at norman@hellyeslife.com. That's norman@hellyeslife.com. And just, you can just say in the email, you could just say, hell yes, I'm interested, or whatever, and tell me a little bit about yourself. And then I'll put you on a list of people who are interested in this beta version of the mastermind. I should say that One reason to consider doing this now is that it will be offered at a fraction of the price of its eventual price once it's officially launched. And you'll get a chance to help me create this course, or customize the course and make it as effective as possible. So you'll be co-creators in the course in some sense. So I'll be really asking you for a lot of feedback and doing everything I can to offer maximum value to you. So anyway, so that's just one of my ways of wanting to be of service to the Hell Yes entrepreneur community. Okay, folks, so that is about it. Just wanted to talk a little bit about this kind of slight pivot to the Hell Yes entrepreneur, just trying to get a little crisper about who are you, right? Who are you? Again, you may not be an entrepreneur. You'll still get a lot out of this, but I suspect that a lot of you out there are already working on your passion-based businesses or aspiring to anyway. I know that when I was about 4 years ago, I started listening to podcasts when I was going to my day job, and started listening to John Lee Dumas on the EO Fire podcast, and Pat Flynn on the Smart Passive Income podcast, and so on. It started the gears turning for me, and hopefully listening to some of these podcast episodes are doing the same for you, because hell yes, let's get out there and do this. Let's live our hell yes lives. So, all right, that's it for me. I always like to end the episode by saying hell yes on the count of 3. Well, oftentimes with my guests, but this time I'm going to say it with you. Okay, ready? On the count of 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hell yes! All right, we'll catch you next time.